In early April, one of the largest and most visible homeless encampments in the city was cleared out by order of Louisville officials. People had been living there for months, huddled in tents and sheltering beneath the highway overpass against sub-zero temperatures in the winter. By the time spring and derby season rolled around, the city announced plans to push the people and their belongings out of sight. Encampments like this one on Jefferson Street exist in part because Louisville lacks the shelter space to house people experiencing homelessness in the short term. And a recent housing needs assessment found the city needs another 31,000 affordable housing units for the poorest residents. Late last year, the Metro Council authorized more than $500,000 of surplus funding to go toward addressing the homeless crisis. That resulted in opening emergency and low-barrier shelters and did help get some people off the streets. But as the city faces millions of dollars in budget cuts due to rising employee pension and healthcare costs, the future of these efforts becomes unclear. In a budget proposed weeks after the Jefferson Street camp clearout, Mayor Greg Fisher suggested allocating $1 million to homeless services. But details about how that money would be spent, if the Metro Council approves allocating it, are not yet known. All of these issues affect homeless young adults, too. Once a person turns 18, they are no longer required by Kentucky law to be in family or state custody. They're treated as adults, even if they don't feel grown up. That can mean staying with older individuals in shelters, which can feel unsafe or intimidating to younger people. Right now, the only alternative for unaccompanied young adults are a handful of beds at the Salvation Army shelter. Natalie Harris is the director of the Coalition for the Homeless.
Our system was not established to help those folks in any way other than how we treated other adults. And so one of the things that's exciting, we've been holding meetings with the community and doing a lot of planning so that we could get a plan approved by the federal government on how to use the funds that we were awarded by HUD. And one of the things that the community said that they wanted to see is a young adult focused shelter that would allow people to be short-term in a shelter setting, but be tied to vouchers so that you could stay there for a short while, kind of stabilize, get a deposit ready, and then you'd be able to move into an apartment on your own with that voucher and still continue to have services until you're ready to move on to whatever else is going to be next in your life.
With more than $3 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, local groups are banding together to eliminate youth and young adult homelessness in Louisville. Harris says doing that could save young adults from a life of chronic homelessness, and it could lead to more shelter options for young adults. That, in turn, could mean getting more young adults into housing, which would give them, and their stuff, a safe and hopefully stable place off the street.